Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Know with CaT Bobino. Today, my extra special guest is Dr. Cimona Hinton, who is a PhD Director of Biological Sciences at Clark Atlanta University and the Center of Cancer Research and Therapeutic Development. Welcome to the show.
That because I just don't want to spite any of my colleagues with similar titles in my cancer center, and my role is to the core facilities within the cancer center. The similar title that you just announced, so I just want to make sure.
Yes, thank you for the correction. You are breaking up just a little bit, but we're going to keep this conversation going. What does it mean to be a PhD in the biological sciences?
Degrees that is required for the you want to be on the higher end of and discovery in the biomedical. So traditionally, in at the university level, and we require a PhD. That trend with the onset of innovation in technology, but for the most part, when you're dealing with required, so most people who have, I assume that they didn't, because it's absolutely required.
Ooh, I think we're having some trouble with the audio. It's like I can hear you talking, but it's breaking up a bit, unfortunately. But we're gonna try and see how we can work this out. But what I did gather, is working in this type of field and getting your PhD in biological sciences is very important. But biological sciences can be very broad. So what is the type of work that you did to get into your field?
I followed the very traditional route. I had really good mentors along the way. School is probably what piqued my interest in the beginning, working courses, especially chemistry and biology. I went to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I had excellent mentors there who actually introduced me to the PhD. I just kind of followed what I liked. And so I did all of the traditional summer internships, undergraduate conferences, presenting research, and once again, I had outstanding mentors. My PI, one of my role models that I base the way I train my lab students, and accumulation of undergraduate and graduate training all proved itself well when I went to my postdoc. Where in 360, incorporating the tools I learned in undergrad, and then I went to Boston. I went to Harvard Medical School for my postdoc. So I would have to say priceless thing that I received in all of my training was which I still speak to today.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And how important is it for you and probably other students to have good mentors when you're going into a field like this?
And I don't even think it's this field, because as I'm learning now, because I've professionally, as a faculty member, and I've done well, and I've had my successes, but there's something I need to do more. I just haven't figured out what it is yet. However, I will say that I am more than ever that the mentorship, which leads later to endorsement, and people who can speak your name when you're in the room, that is official. Then probably the merit that I have achieved, because you've achieved a lot, then the next levels, and you need those relationships to build collaborations, to build large research projects, to get positions and higher levels. So always seeking mentors as you grow, your mentor capabilities and what they're able to show you and introduce you to. Is it
Absolutely.
still having an
Hmm?
Is the audio still?
It's better. It
Okay.
does. It still kind of breaks up a bit, but it's better. I can hear you more now. But yes, finding a mentor, having a mentor, not everyone has that option when they go into these types of field or any field in reality. But having a good mentor and someone to kind of walk you along the way and, show you what's there and conferences. I've spoken to people who have gone to a variety of fields, and it wasn't until they graduated or something like that where they found out about conferences or found out about other options that they had, and they didn't know it going into school. Some people say it's a part of going into a HBCU experience versus a PWI experience, but I think it's just the experience and the people you work with. How did you find your mentors?
It was something I had to learn. I was not naturally outgoing. Like, I didn't come in to any of my academic knowing really how to network or how to ask for help or ask questions. It took a lot of understanding why some people may have gotten more attention than times. The difference was just that they had the courage to talk to people and to put in that personal face time. And I learned back in my younger self is that I relied on merit, and I thought that and that's not always true, because with some people, they want the people to count on to do a good job, but that they can also trust their character. And so if you're not speaking and you're not relating to people and forming interpersonal relationships. So it took me a long time to learn that. And I'm glad I got it. And that was natural for me, especially because I was never in a situation where I had to. I had to definitely grow and stretch in that area.
Yeah, that's understandable. But let's take it back a little bit about you. When you went to undergrad, where was this something you was interested going into college, going into the biological fields, or were you interested long in high school? Did you already know this is what you wanted to do, or how did that go about for you?
So it was a junior chemistry class that I enjoyed. And then I just said, I'll just major in chemistry off of that one class. The road.
That's how it be sometimes. Yes.
And so I majored in chemistry. I was fortunate to go into that was based in biomedical sciences, and that was set up for me to receive research experience and research training. So I don't know anything about the other side of research, academic research preparation, summer internships. I didn't know about going to conferences and those things, but luckily the program had that built in. And then from there, I was fortunate to get more scholarships, and then I got into the undergraduate training program. But I would like to think that it was me, but when I got wiser, it was purely mentally someone I luckily enough to identify me as having problems in those positions, because I was not very forthright in saying what I wanted my goals to be, what my dreams were. I just always see me because I got an A on the test or something like that. So it worked out for a while, but then I did hit a wall where it was like I had to put myself out there. But that probably wasn't until later that.
Okay. Yeah, some people automatically know when they go into college, this is what I want to study, this is how I'm going to be, and then some people have pivots when they go to college, and you're like, oh, I really, really like chemistry. Then they take a biology class or a physics class, and they're like, oh, okay. I didn't know that this was also something I can do, And so when you were went into college and going into the field that you went into, how did it feel once you started taking all of the different science classes and having someone help you and guide you through it? What kind of stuck out for you in those classes?
Sure. So I went in first year courses I enjoyed, and I was excited, and they were easy. And then as the major progressed, especially the chemistry part of it, when it became a lot more physical, I think what really was biochemistry, because now I started to pull in the biology and where those two converge. So I chose biochemistry as my department. But not necessarily because of skill, but because the interest wasn't there. So when I started chemistries that were way more mathematical and than I imagined it would be, because I went in superficially picking this major, interest was waning. I knew I didn't want to do pure biology. Biochemistry was a sweet, probably would save my career.
And I guess I can say I'm the opposite. Anyone who has listened to this podcast knows, chemistry was my moment. I was like, oh, I have to do chemistry on top of biology. Biology is easy for me. It comes really easy. It's just memorization, basically. You're like, okay, I can regurgitate this. I know it. It's great. When you start throwing in the numbers and the chemistry aspect of it, then I was like, okay, this. And then biochemistry, the fact that you love biochemistry and I was in biochemistry struggling, it just goes to show that, all of our interests vary.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me tell you about this love. My biochemistry professor was probably, he was really the gatekeeper. I got a C the first semester. The first semester of biochemistry was required. I still went back and took the second semester because I was like, I want to conquer this. I gotta be. And I still said, wait a minute, I think I can do this. And went to graduate school with it. But just because I liked it, I still struggle.
Well, there you go. That's something good to talk about and to acknowledge, A lot of people have a fear of going into STEM thinking you have to ace it and be perfect at it.
Yeah.
But as long as you have an interest in it and you're willing to keep going, that's what's more important.
Sure.
Yeah, because biochemistry, I was a struggle bus. I was not gonna lie. I know I can see the implications and what you could do with it, but I was like, no, I'd rather just learn about animals and stay strictly biology. But so what made you go to grad school? Was that always your interest, or was that also a mentor pushing you?
A mentor exposing me. So I was in all the classic programs. I was in LSAM. I was in MARC. Program sponsored by NASA. All of these providing tuition, internships every year. And with each program, there was a different faculty director. Each one of them kept their hands on me. So I always, when I'm telling this story about how I got into chose me, because none of the things that I did, I had any knowledge of. I don't come from a science. My family both are HBCU graduates. My parents are both HBCU graduates, but not all. So I had no idea. I went into this really blindly, and thank goodness someone had their hands on me, because I don't know what I would have done with that chemistry at the time.
Right. And so what were you studying when you went to grad school?
So I majored in biochemistry. That was its changed. I think it's cancer biology and biochemistry now. But we were doing cancer biology. The coursework was biochem, but my lab was a breast cancer lab. Studied a tumor suppressor and oh gosh, I don't remember, but we studied cancer and how it changes its localization and this regulates the tumorigenicity of the tumor cell. I was found, and it took a little while for me to get it off the ground. My PI had a pharmacy type background, biochem, not too off, but still different perspectives. I got to graduate school. I enjoyed being in the lab, but I was over coursework. I was just over, and especially because it moves so fast, there's so much volume. I was just like yesterday. But I really enjoyed the lab. I did all of the hallmarks of undergraduate research. So like I had an F-31, I had the grant talks, I gave posters. I met my postdoc advisor at France, and he invited me for an interview then and there. So I had the travel awards. I did all the lab. I just enjoyed the work and the tinkering. Coursework, I will have to be. If I ever have to take a training or anything like that, I'm like, I just don't want to do.
Well, I mean, I can understand, and it's so interesting to me because there's people who really like to do the work, be in the lab, get their hands in there, doing all of that major stuff. And then there's people who would rather take the classes than be in the lab, and it's so interesting to see the spectrum. Mm-hmm. With you being more of a lab person than a classroom person, how was it writing your dissertation? Because I always know and hear that that's hard for some people.
The writing was not as bad. We did the work. I understood the work, and it was easy for me to kind of tell. So the writing wasn't, I mean, it was mundane, right? Because you write and oh God, you're checking for all things. But actually getting my thoughts out and the concepts out were not. The thing I didn't like about coursework, and still I don't like to this day, is memorizing and then having to regurgitate the concepts. So now if it's more of a test where a scenario you have to apply a concept or figure out a problem, I tend to do well with that. But I didn't take anatomy and physiology, but if I had to, I probably would have just gave all the, just hate memorizing and identifying. It's probably what that wasn't for me. So writing wasn't that bad for me. Writing a grant or writing the dissertation wasn't bad. It was just the memorize, like call and response of test taking.
Oh my goodness. And that's my favorite part because I could do the memorization. I could regurgitate the information. I mean, anatomy and physiology was one of my favorite classes. That's so funny to me. It's just when you start adding letters and numbers into it, and I'm just like, wait, now I got to figure out how many moles something has, and then the conversion of this. Oh, see, now it's too much. Now it's too much. Yeah. I can't. Yeah. I could do it, or I used to be able to do it. It's been a while since I've had to do it, but that was too much for me.
So then I put those concepts on my exams, and it's a mixture of students: psychology, biology, chemistry. You can always tell who is from what major by the way they answer the question. you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, then that leads me to, I mean, so you did the traditional route, school,
I did.
I mean, undergrad, grad school, postdoc, and then did you go straight into teaching after postdoc?
Yeah, Clark, Atlanta. At the time, we had a mission to start cancer research in African American health, and we decided to focus on the Black man, so as to not to establish a niche, because we do have more. We got Emory down the street. That's a comprehensive cancer center. Establish a niche and a focus that would make us stand out. So all of the PIs we all do projects centered around either health cancer, health disparities of Black men, or prostate cancer biology. I came here because I was a HBCU graduate. The mission was new and novel, and I like being on the front end of things like that. So that's what.
That's dope. And so is that the program currently doing that type
Yes.
of okay.
Yes, still here. I think the website is ccrtd.cau.edu where you'll find us. So yeah, we're still here. The mission is still the same. It hasn't changed. Targets and our foci, and just because we grow, still the baseline is we always come back to Black men's health as Metropolitan Atlanta.
That's a very interesting topic because, and this is a rabbit hole we can go down, don't necessarily have to go down, but the misrepresentation of Black health in medicine.
Sure.
And, how we are considered to have a different pain level, different response to medicine, all of that stuff that's been passed down for eons. And then you get to this health aspect of the Black male, which is even harder, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's harder because of getting Black males to go to the doctor and get checked out. So how did you guys, or how did Clark Atlanta come to that ideal of this is what we want to do research on?
Yeah, so the director at the time, he's out of that position, but the director at the time who recruited me, I think they ran to support this new idea, and streamline the idea. And I don't want to speak for him, but I'm speculating when it came here and to figure out how to stand out and not be competitive. Because like I said, you have a whole medical school that's part of the AU. Have all of the medical resources for biomedical research and everything. And so just choose one thing. I think in his research, looking at Emory Comprehensive Cancer Center and all of the resources that's in this, one thing that was kind of lacking was focusing on the Black man. So he chose that before focusing on black male prostate cancer. And there's some involved out of they haven't really stepped away from cancer, but just expanded Black men in cancer. So like, bladder cancer projects, lung cancer projects, but still.
Wow. Okay. But what, not to step on the toes, but what about women and breast cancer? Black women with breast cancer. I know that's a big deal.
Sure, but breast cancer is extremely actually has, regardless of race, much better outcomes than men. Women socially tend to be a little bit more responsive to their health, have more support groups, whether it's friends or even their own children on them, especially when they get to that age. And so you have to remember that at the time, it was more so we're establishing a cancer center. We need a niche, and we have these competitors. So to do cancer, we would have gotten swallowed, but no one was doing prostate cancer, focusing on
right.
So that was it.
So what are you guys noticing with the research you're doing on prostate cancer in Black men?
That is a very, very, very murky area. So you have prostate cancer biology that will probably be across all cultures and races. Get murky is that you'll hear a lot about the biological disparities of race. People may present them as if Black men have a different biology instead of actually, and that's kind of telling the story in the middle of going to the first page and saying that Black men are exposed to different social states, change their biology and result in these diseases. Because to just simply start in the middle and say Black men have a different biology, reinforce racial concepts that we are racially, biologically inferior at the beginning. What have people been exposed to? What have their behaviors been? What have their lifestyles before you make that assumption? So we all research different things, and over the past 12 years, and we've been heavy area, we have looked at cannabis and how cannabis can be a secondary level of prevention for metastatic cancer. So if you introduce things into the system, they activate this, I don't want to get too technical, relationship with receptors that usually are pro-migratory. So the cannabinoid receptor and a chemokine receptor that is pro-migratory will cancel each other out. There'll be no signals coming from the receptors, and then the cells just stay stagnant. So we've been able to show this on a biochemical level. Now we're at the point where we're looking at them in mice to see if this is a real model system, hopefully that we can get all the way up to a human. Okay, so kind of the biochemistry side. On the social side, I have a collaboration. The question of, and you brought this up earlier, that sometimes not believed when they're in pain, right? There was a scene among medical residents where they asked them their perceptions of pain and pain thresholds, and they believed, like, the damaging info from that was that many of them that believed that Black patients had thicker skin and weaker nerve endings. And so I have this study that is like really at the baseline, like we're just get all the IRB approvals and everything, to ask the question. Georgia has access to medical cannabis, and you can apply for medical. We are asking the question for Black men, prostate cancer, and experiencing pain because they have metastasis. One, when they ask their provider, do they get it? Are they being, pushed away? No, you don't need one. You don't need that. What is their pain score? Is the pain score consistent with the level of white patients who are given access to cannabis cards? And then their race, what they culturally identify as, what's their economic status, trying to capture how is their pain perceived. Is it perceived as non-Black patients? So those are the two major projects I have going around Black men's health.
Okay, so that,
and we all have
You said what now?
And we all have our own thing, you know, of looking at Black men and prostate cancer.
Right. And so, I mean, what I gather is, especially when it comes to Black men, when we don't want to use that as the racial card and say all Black men or this is Black men do this, but there is a lot of that how we're raised, nature versus nurture, what you're consuming, what your environment is, all of that stuff on top of, are your doctors listening to you? Are you going in? Are you, what are you saying and what are they saying? And, and it all accumulates to the Black men's health. And, that is such a, I don't know what the word to use, a struggle, I guess, especially with Black men and their health and getting them to be more transparent of what's going on, as well as getting doctors to listen. That's
but with this study, one of the answers we're trying to capture with this study is men, and the way we have the questions framed with the men who come in being denied a cannabis card because and perceptions of drug use among Black men. Looking at the men who don't come in, right? Because we can only work with what we have. So actually, when they come in, doctor, when they come in and they're actually asking for these cards or they're in pain, how is the doctor they are eligible or qualified for one? Is it because they really don't believe? Is it a bias and discrimination of like, oh, we don't want to expose you to drugs?
Right. And so we do have a comment/question. Is can one say that we are conditioned to have to tolerate pain because we do not have the resources to care and deal with our issues? So we are expected to endure pain.
Yes, but that's a mindset. Are you actually in pain? And what we're asking is that for the people who are at the doctor's office and ready to admit that they're in pain and they're seeking relief, or they be just being discriminated against. But absolutely, people feel like they have to tolerate pain, whether it's because of social rearings within their own community or not wanting to appear weak to communities outside. Absolutely, but I wish you did, especially when it comes to your health. And go ahead and get checked out.
Yes, and I mean that's such a unfortunate reality in the I would even say people of color, cultures, not just Black cultures, but being seen as the stronger group that we can tolerate more, deal with more. I mean, that goes into the Black woman and giving birth. All of that is such that's a whole nother thing that Black people have to deal with. But hopefully,
so let me intercede one thing. I don't want to call out names of but I have a friend who's in sociology and she deals with the strong Black woman and how, in her view, is damned, and it translates into, well, you're a strong Black woman. You don't need, you don't need anything.
Right.
And are we setting our own selves up for failure? So even with the Williams as to say that we're conditioned to tolerate pain, I understand what we've endured and what our cultural and historical existence have been. Carrying that mindset forward, then do we almost kind of box ourselves because we're upholding the myth that we have to endure pain? And
Right. And then I agree, that's that. This yeah, like I said, this can be a whole rabbit hole of a discussion, but I've had those talks recently with people, and it's just like we've come through this whole messed up past of slavery and beatings and all that stuff, to the point that our parents beat us because they don't want us going out into the world and getting hurt by them, so then they hurt us first to keep us in line. And then it's
Yeah.
this whole big
Yeah.
spectrum of thing of past trauma that we keep, and we're trying to stay alive, basically, and we're trying to do what we can not to be seen as weak to anybody else. But at the end of the day, it's hurtful to
Yeah.
us. It's
Yeah.
hurtful. I mean, I got emotional this weekend over something, and was told, don't tell people that you're emotional. You're too strong for that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I can't have emotions. I can't be upset about something. Like,
No. No.
yeah,
You strong, girl.
I'm a strong Black woman. I can't.
Yeah.
You. How dare you get emotional?
I
It's
know.
just like,
I know.
no. I was like, please don't use that narrative with me. I don't like that.
And those myths from from the hospital room to the boardroom. Keep your composure. You can't get irate like everyone else. You can't jump across, bang on the table and do all of the foolishness. Absolutely.
Yeah, they can't.
Yeah.
We can't. And it's
Never.
just like, how is that fair?
That was there.
They do it. They're like, oh, they're just having a day and, woo, 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 whatever. We do it. And it's like, you're out of character. You
Yeah.
need to relax or something of that nature. You're too strong. And it's like, wait a minute. I'm human first and foremost.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that's a whole rabbit hole that could be gone down with like past traumas and social. And you are one person doing the work to help change that, encouraging our men to go to the doctors, get seen. But then we have to deal with the doctors.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We then have to deal with the doctors who may or may not listen to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you encourage the men that you work with when it comes to the doctors saying something different?
So I do not become a clinician at all. And even with this study that I described with all that, I won't be the one to administer it because I'm not a clinician. And so my collaborator, who is a physician, one, and her staff will be the one to and then I'll just get the data and interpret the data. But when we do have and we invite men to our symposiums, we invite men to our conferences, talk to them, and just do a little community service. First, so let me tell you that at HBCU, I'm the only one. Ain't that funny? Yeah, go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead. I'll give you a second.
No, I caught that. That.
Yeah, two more. We had two more, and they've transitioned out. So I'm the only one. In the events that we've done recently, there is a natural gravitas, and it's funny because I think they're a little bit between. Well, do we go to the men, right? Because I can't talk much about their personal biologically, but then I can relate culturally. And when we have these things and I talk to them like I am, their sister telling them, you got to get checked. Like, they don't want to hear it. And their family, their mother, their sister, they have all the excuses in the world, or I can't, which is maybe real. I can't get off work. Doctor's office usually closed 5
or something. It's just all of these priorities, and especially when you're dealing with the income class, whether they have the access to the resources, financial access in their personal time. Because I get it. If you work 9 to 5 and the doctor's open 9 to 5, what if it's open 8 to 4? Well, you're on the road getting to work at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is that and depending on what your job is, that may be damaging. That I got to tell you, not getting paid. It's racism and bias is the icing on the cake, but the entire way that we treat your system is really the first layer of the cake before we can even get to this just not honored.
Yeah. Yes. I mean that's very true.
Yeah.
If you work that 9 to 5, you got to take care of family, you got bills to pay, you've got a manager who doesn't understand, does not want you taking off, even if it has to do with your health.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother system before you even get to the doctor, before
Absolutely.
you even sit down and, have someone who says, like I had someone, this is a couple years ago, and I was having trouble with my hip. And this is, I had a baby almost 2 years ago. So this was pre-baby weight and all that stuff. And she was like, oh, your hip is popping in and out because you're overweight. You just need to lose weight. Didn't put a hand on me, didn't feel anything, wasn't like, hey, let's do an x-ray. It was literally, I look at you, you're overweight compared to our scale of, height and weight, and that's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, okay, I need a new doctor, because obviously you're not even listening or not even paying attention. And that's just one small problem of perception in medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was over here just
No,
getting angry, and
you're correct. You are correct, because it's those biases. It's not wanting to listen, not wanting to answer the question. Level of work is required to give a real diagnosis. I remember even a situation where I took my first son, well, my oldest son, to one pediatrician when he was really young. And that before I got to fill out any paperwork, it was like, well, do you have health insurance? And I'm just like, wow, where's your manners? but said it to me in a way as if, like, if I had said no, I was going to be turned away.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, we might have to do a second session.
Yeah. Because there's so many stories that I have, my partner has, people I know have, just going to the doctor, like, on your own accord, hey, something's not right, I'm gonna go to the doctor, and they're just like, oh, you're okay. And you're like, but I know I'm not. Already, as as some people, I won't speak for everyone, but as some Black people, I'm already out of sorts coming to the doctor, because I was conditioned not to just kind of do it at home. And then you go finally, and then they turn you away like something's not right. So Christina was saying, I was told by a few nurses that I should ask doctor to put in my record that they refuse to do any type of test, exams, and keep it on the record. Yes, Christina, I've done the same. Yeah. I've done that.
And get your printout before you go. And keep your own notebook at home.
Yeah, I've definitely done that, where I was like, I feel this certain way and I would like an x-ray. And they're like, no, you don't need an x-ray. I said, so are you going to document the fact that you said I didn't need an x-ray when I specifically asked for one? And then, of course, I got an x-ray.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, it's like they don't want to use up their resources for some. You know what? Again, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Anyway, we'll go back to you and the work that you're doing. You know, so you are at Clark Atlanta
Yeah.
University doing this research. How can people learn more about it? Or if there's any youth interested in this type of field, how could they learn more about it?
Well, let me start with the youth. Youth, if you would, you need to come to Clark Atlanta. So this is the pitch that you need to apply and come that you can work with us. And let me just do a pitch for the AUC that coming to Clark experience. And I mean, I'm old. I'm on the other side of the game now, you know, it gets on my nerves, right? But the kids have a wonderful time. I mean, it seems like, and I'm not trying to paint it as a party school, but at graduation years, it's passing out because they just always so funny. But we take students and we probably like one of the greatest achievement is that if we can take a student, especially a freshman, to whatever their next career opportunity is going to be, it's all come to Clark Atlanta. You have 3 schools of students, so it's always a good time. And we are 3 distinct institutions, but one family at any institution. And I hope I've impressed upon you to come to Clark Atlanta. So that's that.
Yes. Yes. Clark Atlanta is right. I've visited, you know, it's Spelman, Clark, and Morehouse. Like they all have a corner. Right?
Yeah.
That, you know, and
Yep.
it's all right there. So you're going to see people and be able to interact with people from 3 different schools right there, 3 HBCUs doing amazing work. Clark is the only one out of the 3 that's
co-ed.
both genders, co-ed, yes.
Yeah.
Although you can go on any campus during the day. And I don't know, can you take classes at the other campuses too? I can't remember that part.
Absolutely, because there are some concentrations and majors that the other camp. Like for example, we are the ones that have the TV, radio, film. Lee, although he was a Morehouse student, and I think he majored in sociology, all of it, because we have the actual major, and it's kind of like that. Each school kind of have to keep, I guess, keep the movement going. But absolutely, our students take all of the different schools. They come in, our students go out. I mean, it really is just a educational atmosphere.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Where you can take the classes, you know, on all 3 campuses. But if you're interested in that cancer research and that biochemistry research,
yeah,
that's, you know, that's your department.
Right. So if you're interested, you would have to be a student. I do not students. It's just a lot of liability and red tape to get them on campus. Our wonderful summer internship programs, especially at medical schools, that have all the clearance and the funding and the programs for it. You Google high school research and put in your favorite medical school, like a medical school, something will pop up. I don't take high school students. I start. But there are wonderful ones really interested in if you're interested in any of the medical sciences, so it's like you want to go to medical school, dental school, pharmacy, you want to research, even if you're interested in nursing, I do recommend that you do research because you how all of these things manifest on the cellular level before they even can see. So every disease, before you can see it in the clinic, or before they come in, pain or how they felt or whatever happened to their organs, something happened in those. And doing the research and seeing how all of those molecules work together, great appreciation for your science courses, and then help you understand what's going on in the larger context. Because remember, especially if you're going to medical school, dental school, etc., science tests. So you might as well come and do science anyway.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of work to go into medical school, and there's a lot of science behind the MCAT. So having a better understanding of biochemistry is great for going to medical school.
Yeah, sure.
And so as our time is starting to dwindle down, is there any last thing that you would like to say or share for anyone out there?
Experience. I want to thank our two guests for waking up so early and joining us, especially if you're on the West Coast. 2:52 where I am. But thank you so much for having me and inviting me.
Of course. And we're gonna have to keep the conversation going, and maybe we have to add a medical doctor onto this chat, because medical conversation is a beast to have.
Yeah. Well, in addition to plugging undergrad, I do want to plug that my department and the Department of PhD programs, and where our programs are introduced, the biology or chemistry, you can do research with anyone that you like. So you can be a biology major, you like someone in chemistry and the work they're doing, you can do that, and vice versa. So you come in, you get tuition, you get a stipend. Now, you're not buying a Tesla down Atlanta, but we do pay you so that you from getting a job and that you can focus all of your attention towards actually doing. We have had wonderful. My first year here, we had a student, she's Dr. Paulette Dillard, waiting. My second year's faculty here, she's now the president of Shaw University. Many wonderful outcomes like that. We're the only school in the AU university, meaning we have bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Morehouse School of Medicine is the other institution, but because they're a medical school, they start at the master's and go up. And it's different from theirs. We are more of pure science, classical sciences, but we have just as diverse and a robust program as they would have. So PhD and learning how all of these diseases manifest. I'll be welcome to have you.
That's dope. Yes. So you have so many options right there in Georgia, and that you can do. And Clark Atlanta has a lot of good. I guess like you said, you can go all the way to PhD at Clark Atlanta in the sciences. So
all the way. So consider applying. Consider applying, especially if you have a science degree and you're unsure of what to do. You don't want to go the clinical route, but you're unsure of what to do. Shoot me at hinton@cau.edu, and we can discuss. I used to direct the graduate program for our department. So certainly help you find the right direction.
All right, there. I put her email into the chat. And so if anybody is interested, and I'm going to throw this out there, we're not just talking to high school kids, college kids, people who go back to school at all types of ages. So if this is something you're interested in, science is something you're interested in, make sure you ask the questions, send an email, and you just never know what can come out of it.
Yeah. We've absolutely have worked first before they came back to school. So absolutely.
Yes. So thank you for for taking the time out today. Thank you for everyone who joined in and asked questions and put comments and chats in there, and appreciate you guys. It's Monday. Happy Monday for everyone who is out, and you guys have a good rest of the day.